2 weeks after our wedding. And I mean 2 weeks after dancing barefoot under vineyard lights, kissing her forehead in Greece, and whispering baby names in Santorini. Emma walked into our apartment, dropped her purse like she'd just come back from a spa day, and said, "I need to be with my ex. He's dying. Brain cancer. It's his last wish." That's when I learned that when people talk about fate, they usually mean your fate, not theirs. Let me back up. Emma and I were together 5 years. Solid. No drama, no betrayal. We were the couple people envied. "You two are so lucky," they'd say. Like we hadn't earned it through weekend errands, late-night work shifts, and dumb arguments about the thermostat. She was a nurse, grounded, compassionate, believed in energy and chakras, had a Pinterest board full of both. I was the guy with a paper calendar who thought Mercury retrograde was a car problem. But we worked. The wedding? Perfect. Sonoma. Lanterns, vows, happy tears. People said we were in sync. Guess they missed the part where Emma was already planning her next karmic mission. Because that day, in the same kitchen where we once danced to Fleetwood Mac while burning garlic bread, she looked me in the eye and said, "This isn't about love. It's about something bigger. It's destiny." She made it sound noble, like the universe had handpicked her to dump her husband and go play Florence Nightingale with her ex. I just stood there, blinking, and I asked her once, "Emma, are you leaving me?" She nodded. "I have to. He needs me. Not for romance. For peace." Peace. That's the word she used. So I gave her peace. I said, "Then you leave. But you don't come back." And just like that, my wife of 14 days walked out to cradle another man and call it healing. You'd think after a stunt like that, she'd disappear, start fresh in the mountains, or at least get lost somewhere between her spiritual mission and a shred of shame. But no. 3 days later, she mailed me a letter. A real one, stamped and everything, like we were in a Nicholas Sparks novel, minus the romance plus a side of delusion. Inside was a short note, written in that same loopy handwriting she used on our wedding invites. "I think we both knew this path would be hard. Please sign the divorce papers at your convenience. I still believe in the beauty of what we had. No apology, no regret, just a breakup wrapped in soft focus nonsense." And attached, a clean PDF of the divorce petition, signed, notarized, witnessed. She came prepared. Bless her enlightened heart. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But I did stare at the word respondent and wonder what, exactly, I had responded to. Love? Loyalty? A 5-year resume of showing up and staying in? And here's the kicker, her friends took her side. Her best friend Casey called and said I wasn't being supportive of Emma's higher calling, that I was cold and emotionally rigid. Apparently, not throwing a farewell party for my own wife's spiritual affair made me the villain. Mutual friends chimed in too. People I'd cooked for, helped move, hosted game nights with. Suddenly they were shocked at my insensitivity. One even wrote, "She's helping someone through death, man. Can't you be a little less selfish?" Right? Because I'm the selfish one. The guy trying to understand how my marriage got traded in for hospice care and a cosmic lesson in alignment. Meanwhile, Emma's Instagram was full of quotes like, "Sometimes the soul must choose the harder path to fulfill its contract with the universe," with a black and white photo of her holding his hand in a hospital bed. #love wins. I didn't comment. I didn't block her. But I did finally see it. This wasn't about a dying ex. It was about Emma needing to be the star of a grand, tragic story. And me? Just a footnote in the prologue. She didn't waste time. Emma moved in with him, the ex, the same guy she once called a cautionary tale with abs. I'd never met him, but I knew the type. Tortured artist meets professional victim. Grew a beard to look deep, wore flannel to seem grounded, probably smelled like clove cigarettes and bad decisions. And now he was dying. Brain cancer. Stage 4, supposedly. Except I noticed something odd. No hospital beds, no oxygen tanks, no hospice nurses. Just candlelit dinners and golden hour walks. One photo showed them meditating under a tree. The caption, "Energy can't be faked. Neither, apparently, can brain cancer." But back then, I still wanted to believe one part of this circus was real. Turns out, the only thing dying was my patience. Then came the group texts. Casey and another mutual friend sent out a mass message. Something about supporting healing energy and raising money for his treatment. A GoFundMe link. Photos of him in a beanie, looking soulful. I didn't reply. I didn't donate. But I read every update like a soap opera. Meanwhile, Emma went full Florence Nightingale. Cooking vegan meals. Journaling about sacred grief. Reposting quotes about transcendence. All while still legally married to me. At work, I smiled. I functioned. Then I came home to silence and a half-empty apartment. Her side of the closet stripped bare like a break-in. Her favorite mug still in the sink. Mocking me with its corny quote. Live your truth. I started sleeping on the couch. Not because the bed was too big, but because it still smelled like her. And peace? That word she loved? It never showed up. What did come was a realization. This wasn't sacrifice. It was theater. Emma wasn't helping a dying man. She was writing her own myth, casting herself as the spiritual heroine in a melodrama she could control. And me? Just the boring husband she had to shed to make the story work. But I wasn't going to be the silent casualty. Not anymore. I'll give her credit. Emma didn't drag it out. 2 weeks after the letter, a courier showed up at my building with a fresh set of divorce papers. This time official. Neat little tabs showing where to sign, and a cover letter from her lawyer that managed to sound both apologetic and smug. We appreciate your prompt attention to this matter. Sure. Right after I meditate on how you torched our vows and called it enlightenment. And still, part of me waited. Thought maybe, just maybe, she'd come to her senses. Not for the apartment or the ring or the shared dreams. For me, the guy who held her after night shifts, who remembered her coffee order, her mom's birthday, and exactly how she liked her bath towels folded. But no, she doubled down, started throwing around phrases like soul realignment and temporary detachment. Told a mutual friend, this isn't a separation, it's a redirection of energy, right? Into her ex's lap, apparently. Then came the guilt trip, not from her but from people we both knew. Friends I'd cooked for, worked with, trusted. They turned into her PR team. One sent me this gem. I know it hurts, but isn't it beautiful that she's following her heart? Beautiful. Like she'd adopted a rescue dog. Not walked out on her husband to play hospice goddess for a guy who used to ghost her during Mercury retrograde. Truth is, Emma always needed to feel chosen by fate, by the stars, by anything that made her life seem bigger than it was. Marriage was too grounded, too real. It didn't come with hashtags or poetic suffering, but heartbreak that she could turn into content. Meanwhile, I was left with half the furniture, a drawer full of wedding receipts, and a playlist called Our Forever Songs that now felt like a cruel joke. I didn't sign the divorce papers right away, not out of hope, but because I needed to feel in control of something. For 5 years, I thought we were building a life. Turns out, I was just one of Emma's detours on her way to higher vibration. It was 3 months before I heard her voice again. Not a call, not a text, just a knock at 7:46 p.m. Right when I'd finally convinced myself she was gone for good. I opened the door and there was Emma, mascara streaked, hair pulled back like she didn't have time to be perfect. She was shaking, clutching what looked like a folder, but turned out to be a pile of lies wrapped in panic. "Can we talk?" she asked, like we were picking up after a weekend away. No apology, no warning, just desperation. I stepped aside, muscle memory. That was the thing with Emma. Even after everything, part of me still responded to her pain. Old reflex, like a dog sitting for a treat it knows isn't coming. She sat on the same couch where we used to watch reruns and plan a future. Only now she wasn't planning. She was unraveling. "It was all fake," she said. I didn't answer. She opened the folder and dumped out the truth like some tragic exposé. The ex-boyfriend? Not dying. Not even sick. No brain cancer. No tumors. Just forged documents and a fake diagnosis, courtesy of Google and a decent printer. He'd faked it all. Played her with sob stories and final wishes. And she fell for it. Why would someone do that? She asked, voice cracking. I almost laughed. Why would you believe it? I said instead. She looked like I'd slapped her. But I wasn't angry. I wasn't anything. Just watching a woman I used to love realize she'd been conned by the same romanticized nonsense she always used to justify bad decisions. I didn't check, she whispered. I didn't even think to. Exactly. She didn't ask. Didn't dig. She just leapt into the arms of a guy who spun a better fantasy than the life we'd built. Now she was back. Not for me, but because the fairy tale collapsed. Because I was plan B. And I don't do plan B. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Didn't ask how she could be so gullible. I just stood there, arms crossed, while Emma unraveled her sob story like it was supposed to fix something. Like her betrayal would sting less because she'd been betrayed too. She kept talking. About how ashamed she felt. How she realized too late what she'd given up. How this mess made her see that I was the one who always anchored her. Anchored. That's the word she used. Like I was some dock she could tie herself to after sailing straight into a hurricane she chose. Then she reached for my hand without thinking and I pulled away. Not in anger. Just, done. You didn't check, I said again. She blinked. I know. I should have. No, I cut her off. You chose. And now you want a refund. She stared at me like I was a stranger, someone who didn't bend, didn't forgive on command. But here's the thing about fire, once it burns you, you stop leaning in for warmth. She asked if we could talk again. Maybe meet up later. Said she needed time to process and hoped we could rebuild something meaningful. So I told her the truth. You didn't come back because you missed me. You came back because he lied. There's a difference. That silence? That was her finally hearing it. She left soon after. Still wiping her eyes. Still hunting for the angle where she got to be the victim. I didn't walk her out. Didn't watch her leave. I just shut the door. Locked it. And stood there for a long time staring at the wedding photo we never took down. She didn't leave because of brain cancer or destiny or some cosmic calling. She left because she wanted to. And she only came back because she ran out of reasons not to. After she left that night, the strangest thing happened. Nothing. No late-night texts. No surprise visits. No mutual friends trying to run interference. For once, Emma disappeared. Or maybe she just didn't know how to spin a narrative when there wasn't a stage or an audience. And honestly, the silence, it was beautiful. I started sleeping through the night again. Went back to the gym. Reconnected with people who weren't constantly checking her Instagram for spiritual quotes disguised as apologies. Even got my appetite back. Funny how betrayal pairs nicely with intermittent fasting. The ring? I put it in a drawer. Couldn't throw it away. Couldn't look at it either. I wasn't trying to move on. I just wanted to remember what life felt like before I became collateral damage in someone else's enlightenment. Then came the texts, not from her, but from her friends. Emma's been through a lot lately. She didn't mean to hurt you. She was manipulated. She's trying to heal. They always used that word, heal, like it was a magic eraser. Like it undid everything she'd done. But I didn't respond. I had no interest in being her redemption arc. I wasn't a character in her next chapter. I was the guy who stayed. Who supported. Who built a future brick by brick while she tossed matches at the foundation because someone else told a prettier lie. So I focused on what I could control. Work. Sleep. Breathing. And somewhere in that quiet I met someone. No fireworks. No soul contracts. Just coffee and conversation and a kind of calm I hadn't felt in years. I didn't dive in. Didn't mention Emma. Not yet. But there was something grounding about being with someone who didn't treat love like a performance. Who didn't need a tragedy to feel alive. And just when I thought the storm had passed, Emma came back. Again. But this time, she brought a secret she couldn't spiritual bypass her way out of. It started with a knock. Again. But this time it wasn't late-night drama. It was 10:03 a.m. on a Tuesday. Broad daylight. No makeup. No tears. Just Emma on my doorstep holding an envelope and looking like she hadn't slept in a month. I didn't say a word. Just stepped aside. Not out of forgiveness, I just needed to see what new story she'd come rehearsed with. She sat on the edge of the couch like it might bite her. Hands trembling. Eyes darting. Like she was looking for a soft landing that wasn't there. Then she said it. I'm pregnant. At first, I didn't move. Didn't breathe. For a second, my brain shielded me with denial. Not mine. Couldn't be. No way. Then she slid the envelope across the coffee table like a cease and desist order. I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure, she said. I didn't want to make things worse, but I had the test done. Twice. Inside? A paternity report. Neat. Clinical. Cold. And there it was, 99.9%. Mine. She looked up, eyes wet with hope. I didn't plan this. I swear. But maybe this is our chance to start over. Start over. The woman who walked out mid-marriage for a fake tragedy. Who only returned when the credits rolled. Now she wanted to hit reset like my life was some emotional etch-a-sketch she could shake clean. She said she found out after the split. Went to checkups alone. Cried. Prayed. Journaled. But what she never did. Call me. She waited until it fit her narrative, until she could show up with a paternity test and a pitch wrapped in guilt and biology. And the part that hit me hardest wasn't the pregnancy. It was knowing she didn't come back because of me. She came back because she needed something. Redemption. Safety. The one guy who never lied, even if she didn't notice until her fantasy burned down. And now? She wanted a second chance. But the man she married? He doesn't live here anymore. I looked at her across the room, this woman who used to be my whole world, and I didn't feel love. I didn't even feel hate. What I felt was distance. A canyon. The kind that doesn't close just because someone says I made a mistake. Emma kept talking. Rambling, really? About the baby. About rebuilding trust. About co-parenting with grace and re-exploring the foundation we had. I let her talk. Because that's what you do when someone finally realizes the house they burned down had real walls. Real warmth. And you can't just sweep up the ashes and redecorate. I still love you, she said. And I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it hit me how much I'd changed. There was a time those words would have broken me. A time I'd have believed them because I wanted to. But now? They sounded like nostalgia with a halo. I'll be a father, I said calmly. But I won't be your husband. That's when her face cracked. Just for a second. Like she realized this wasn't a movie. There wouldn't be a dramatic reconciliation. No montage of baby strollers and second vows. Just reality. You're still angry, she whispered. No, I said. I'm just finally clear. And I was. Because once you see someone choose someone else, not out of love, but out of self-mythology, you can't unsee it. And no baby, no paternity test, no teary confession can erase the fact that when it mattered most, she didn't choose us. She chose a lie. With her eyes wide open. So no, I wasn't angry. I was done. She sat there a long time. Hoping maybe I'd soften. That I'd throw her a rope like I used to. But I didn't move. Eventually she got up. Said she'd be in touch about next steps. And I nodded. Not as her ex-husband. But as the father of a child who deserves better stories than the ones she likes to write. After she left, again, I didn't feel broken. I felt finished. Not in the bitter, I'll never love again kind of way. This was quieter. Simpler. Like closing a book that dragged on 20 chapters too long and realizing you were never the one turning the pages anyway. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the paternity results in one hand and a whiskey in the other. Just me, a glass, and the ghost of a marriage officially outlived by a houseplant. And the thought that kept circling? She didn't come back because she believed in us. She came back because her ex was a fraud and I wasn't. Because I was the one thing in her life that didn't fall apart. And now she wanted to tap into that stability again, like I was a well that never ran dry. But what Emma never understood is this. Wells run dry too. And sometimes they seal shut to keep the toxins out. So I started preparing. Not for a custody battle, she hadn't gone there yet, but for fatherhood. On my terms. I called a lawyer. Set up a co-parenting plan. Told him I'd do whatever it took to be present for the child, but I wouldn't be pulled back into her orbit. She didn't take it well. There were texts. Long ones. About uniting for the child. About our energy still being intertwined. She even dropped the word family a few times like it hadn't exploded in a vineyard parking lot 5 months ago. I didn't respond. Because here's the truth she never understood. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes it just means peace and a locked door. I wasn't punishing her. I was protecting myself and the part of me that still believed love meant showing up. Staying. Choosing. That part? He died the day she called betrayal a spiritual awakening. By the time the 3rd trimester rolled around, Emma had fully transitioned into someone I didn't recognize but somehow always expected. She was nesting alone now. I know because she told me not out of sadness but as a subtle pitch. There's still time to do this together, you know. There wasn't. We spoke a few times. Clinical. Strictly logistics. She asked if I'd be in the delivery room. I said I'd be in the waiting room. Not out of pettiness, just clarity. Because this child? Deserved a father. But Emma? She already had her chance at a husband, and she torched it while holding a candle for a man who couldn't even fake a CT scan properly. Some of our old friends tried to loop me back in, the same ones who told me to support her journey months ago. Now they were using words like growth, healing, and redemption. Like this was an indie film arc and not a legal custody arrangement. She's different now, Casey said over coffee. She really learned something. Yeah, I said. So did I. Emma called this her transformation, her spiritual awakening, her reckoning. But here's the thing about reckoning, it only means something when you carry the cost. Not when you come crawling back, hoping the person you hurt will help you sweep up the mess. I told her we could draft a parenting agreement before the baby arrived. I'd handle my role, all of it. Diapers, feedings, birthdays, the hard stuff. But romance? Trust? A second chance? Off the table. She cried again. Said she'd never stopped loving me. I believe her. I just don't think she ever understood what love required. Not devotion. Not grand gestures. A decision. Daily, boring, unglamorous, to stay. And when she had that chance, she left. So no. I wasn't angry. I was just already living in a new chapter. One where I'm not a prop in someone else's fable. I didn't go to the baby shower. Didn't send a gift. Didn't RSVP with a polite excuse. Emma hosted it with her mom at some sun-drenched cafe, pastel balloons, gluten-free cupcakes. The kind of event designed for Instagram, not sincerity. She posted pictures, of course, holding her belly like it was an apology in progress. One caption read, "New beginnings grow from old heartbreaks." Classic Emma, always the phoenix and the ash at the same time. I stayed focused. My lawyer finalized our parenting agreement. I moved into a new place, nothing fancy, just mine. Bought a used crib. Read every article I could find on fatherhood. The real kind. Not the emotionally available co-parent with spiritual synergy fantasy she liked to romanticize. And somewhere in that process, the pain softened. It didn't vanish, but it quieted. Like grief after a long winter, still cold, still present, but not cutting anymore. I met someone new too. Not right away. Not on purpose. She just showed up. In the most un-Emma way possible. No grand entrance. No talk of soul contracts. Just coffee. Honesty. Laughter without a disclaimer. She asked about my past once. I gave her the cliffs. She didn't flinch. Didn't try to rescue me. Didn't spin it into some deeper meaning. Just nodded and said, "Well, sounds like you know exactly who you are now." And I do. I know I'm not a consolation prize. Not someone's fallback plan after their spiritual awakening turned out to be a con with a beard. I'm a man who was loyal and left behind. And now, I'm a man who knows better. The night she gave birth, I got the call. It was brief. Direct. No spiritual metaphors. No recycled poetry. Just Emma's voice, quiet, stripped bare. "He's here," she said. 7 pounds, 8 ounces. There was a pause, like she was waiting for permission to keep going. I gave her none. Just said, "Okay," and asked, "Is he healthy?" "Yes," she said. "Perfect." Then silence. And for the first time in a long time, I realized something. We were done pretending. Done pretending there was anything romantic left to revive. Done pretending this baby was a cosmic reset. Done pretending love survives betrayal just because biology puts your name on a birth certificate. I visited the hospital the next morning. Not for her. For him. Walked into that sterile room with a balloon and a baby blanket in hand. Saw her, hair tied back, eyes tired, holding a child like it was the first true thing she'd touched in years. She looked up at me like maybe, just maybe, this was the moment everything turned around. It wasn't. I smiled. Genuinely. Looked at the baby, not her. "He's beautiful," I said. She offered to let me hold him. I did. And for a moment, everything stopped. Not in a storybook way, just in a way that made everything still. His breath. His weight. The quiet fact that somehow, out of all that wreckage, something pure had shown up anyway. When I handed him back, her eyes searched mine. "We could try again," she whispered. "For him." I shook my head. And finally said the line that had been sitting in my chest since the day she left. "Your husband died the moment you chose him. I'm already someone else." She cried. I didn't. Because I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was just done being haunted. I walked out of that hospital room with no fanfare. No applause. No swelling soundtrack. Just a slow, steady exhale as the automatic doors slid shut behind me. And in that moment, I knew something most people never get to say with certainty. That was the last time I'd ever look at her with hope. Not bitterness. Not rage. Just a clean, surgical kind of finality, the kind that comes after you've been burned, healed, and learned to keep the matches out of reach. Life didn't become a montage of joy after that, but it became mine again. I settled into fatherhood the way I've always handled things worth doing, one step at a time. Early mornings, bottle feedings, half-slept nights, the kind of chaos that's real, earned, and nothing like the abstract dreams Emma used to chase. She stayed on the edge of it all. Present, yes, but not inside the circle. Not where trust lives. She'd try sometimes. Float phrases like cozy dinners or just the three of us. But I never bit. Not out of spite. But because some bridges don't burn, they dissolve. Quietly. Bit by bit. Until there's nothing left to stand on and no version of yourself left who wants to try. My new relationship? It grew slowly. No fireworks. Just trust. Curiosity. Space, the kind that lets you breathe. She didn't ask to replace anything. She just made room for what was next. And that was everything. Some nights, I'd rock my son to sleep and think about how far I'd come from that vineyard wedding to a one-bedroom apartment filled with silence to this chapter full of diapers and peace. Not revenge. Not rage. Just a calm she doesn't get to touch anymore. I saw her once more, months later. Grocery store. Frozen foods aisle. She was reaching for organic waffles. I was there for diapers and oat milk. We made eye contact. She smiled, that soft, nostalgic smile that says, "Remember when?" And I did. Every part of it. The Sunday mornings. The wedding. The whispers about Greece and kids. And then the knock on my door that cracked the whole illusion in half. She walked over. Started with a hey. Casual. Familiar. Like we were two actors between takes waiting for the next scene to cue up. "How's he doing?" she asked. Meaning the baby. "Good," I said. "Growing fast. Just like everyone warned me." She laughed too loudly. "I miss when we used to talk like this." I didn't reply. Because we never talked like this. We used to talk like partners. Now we talk like people who used to mean everything and now meant absolutely nothing. She cleared her throat. "You seem different." "I am," I said. "And I like it." She nodded slowly. Maybe waiting for an invitation, a sign I'd softened. That I'd say, "Let's grab coffee." Or "Let's talk sometime." But I didn't. Because this wasn't a conversation. It was closure. And I wasn't offering it. I paid for my groceries. Buckled my son into the car. Drove home to a life that didn't include apology tours or recycled poetry. A life where I was no one's second choice. A father. A man. Whole. Emma once said love was about destiny. Spiritual alignment. Signs from the universe. But I learned something else. Real love isn't in the signs. It's in the choices. And when it counted most, she chose someone else. I choose peace. And I don't miss the woman who left me for a lie. Because she never really came back. She just got lost trying to.